everyone. Thank you for clicking on the video. So this is going to be my first longer form content video. I did try recording this in the past at one of my events, but it just didn't come out right because there was a load of other people in the room. I wasn't really on form that day, so I thought I'd take the time. I've made some notes and I'm going to break this down. So we're talking about setting goals, right? So I think people have a real, there's a real sort of misunderstanding about setting goals and how to do it and how to make it easy. And I'm gonna break this down over how I do it and how I do it with the people I've coached, and how I've seen it successful. And I got this in large part from one of my old business mentors called David Hames, who's a business coach from the Henley Coaching Practice. And I worked with David for a couple of years, and he kind of mentored me through my early stages of business, and I got this from him. I'm not sure where he got it from, but possibly Jim Rohn, I'm not sure. But anyway, so I've obviously put my own twist on it. This is not as David does it. He probably does a better job than me. So anyway, I want to talk about essentially the whole year, right? And how people normally do a year. So I want you to imagine this is your year. This is December the 30th or whatever, and this is January the 1st. So this is your whole year. What most people do, and what I've done a lot of in the past, is I set my goal here, right here. Let's use another color. I set my goal here, or my New Year's resolution, and that's going to be I'm going to get 10 new customers this year, or I'm going to get £1 million this year, or I'm going to lose weight this year, or I'm going to get jacked this year, whatever. Insert goal here, it doesn't matter. And typically we start off the year, this is where, it's a big audacious goal, it's up here, and we start the year and we start pretty strong. And then what happens is it kind of drops off a cliff, and then maybe you try again, ultimately it's not happening, and then by around here, if you're lucky, the whole thing is forgotten. So, that's what most people do. That's what I used to do. And that's what we want to avoid, right? So what I do now is, lost half the year there. What I do now is I split up the year into chunks, into quarters. That's how most things are done in business, quarters, like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Much more, so we're already taking a big idea and we're chunking it down now, right? So you've got quarter one here, then you've got quarter two, quarter three, and then quarter four. Just imagine these are all equidistant. And I'm just gonna sort of mark these out here, right? Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And that, in my experience, is the best way to think of your year. So straight away, we're not doing New Year's resolutions. We're doing quarters. What I do with these quarters is I set my goals in these quarters, right? So I don't set an overarching thing for the year, or I do sometimes, but we'll get onto that. But I set my goals throughout the year like that, and I encourage other people to do it like that. So let me talk about why I do that. So, obviously, we've spoken about why you might not want to do it the other way, but why would you want to do it this way? And it is all about breaking things down into more manageable, bite-sized chunks. So if I set one goal in Q1, that's 3 months. Now, in 3 months, you can do quite a lot in 3 months. You can achieve something pretty significant, but it's also not overwhelming, right? 3 months is it's a manageable time frame. If I ask you to set a goal in January for December, that's quite a long time, and it's quite difficult to think about that for most people. Some people are different. But if I ask you to set a goal for 3 months, stick to a training routine for 3 months, that, although it might be a challenge, that's much more achievable, and you're able to visualize that much better. At least this is what I find. So this is this is how we're going to do it, right? And then what I do across here, what I encourage people to do across here, is to set 3 goals every quarter. So Q1, you would set 3 goals. Q2, you would set 3 goals. Q3 and Q4, right? And you can see now we've got 3 goals here, 3 goals here, 3 goals here, and 3 goals here. 12 goals by the end of the year. Now, already to me, that seems better than setting 1 goal. Like, you got 12 manageable goals. And let's be realistic, you might not hit them all. So it might look more like 10, it might look more like 5, but 5 is still more than 1. So in theory, that's essentially how I break down my year. Break down the year into quarters, and in those quarters, I set 3 goals. And I typically will hit 2 of 3 of those. If I hit all 3, I'm probably like not stretching myself enough. And if I only hit 1, maybe it's a little bit too ambitious. But that's essentially how I do the year. So, how do I know what goals to set? That all comes down to like, who you are, what you want to achieve, what your ambitions are, all that kind of stuff. But one thing that I've used with clients, I'd use it myself, which has been really helpful, is a tool called the Wheel of Life. Now, I've changed this and made it slightly different, but stick with me. So the way the Wheel of Life would work is you would take the categories of your life that you want to improve, and you would put them into this Wheel of Life. Now, I have a philosophy that there's the 4 things that you need in order to live a fulfilled life, for most guys anyway, and those are as follows. So we've got health and fitness, business, work, money. I understand those are 3 things, and these are 2 things, but they go in the same category, right? Friendships and relationships. Excuse my handwriting. And self-development. So those are my 4 categories: health and fitness, business, work and money, friendships and relationships, and self-development. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those into the Wheel of Life to kind of show you how that works. So this is the Wheel of Life. It's a wheel. Use your imagination. Where's the center there? And I'm going to split it into these 4 chunks like that. So here is health and fitness. Here is work and money. Here is self-development. And here is friendships and relationships. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to score myself from 1 to 10 in each of these areas. Now, one thing that's really interesting is when you ask people to set goals, or you ask them to get specific about some of this stuff, they're really good at setting goals that are like health and fitness related, or business, work and money related. They're really good at those. They're very quantifiable. So if you want to bench press 140 kilos, that's very quantifiable. If you want to make 100 grand a year, that's very quantifiable. When it comes to this stuff, self-development and friendships and relationships, this is where people get unstuck. And in my experience, when it comes to friendships and relationships, it doesn't matter how much money you've got or how well you're doing or how ripped you are. If you haven't got friendships and relationships covered to some degree, your level of contentment in life is usually going to suffer. Usually, it's not always the case. But, so what I want you to do is, I want you to draw this out for yourself, and I want you to score yourself in each of these areas. So, if I was going to do it for myself, and this is just for the sort of like a example, I might go, well, you know, health and fitness is, I'm pretty on it, so I'm going to give myself an 8. Business, work and money, you know, I always want to do more. I always want to improve in this area. I'm going to give myself a 5. Self-development, you know what? I read every day. I am always watching YouTube things. I'm always doing courses. I'm always on my self-development stuff. So I'm going to give myself an 8 here as well. And friendships and relationships, you know what? Like, I've been really focused in all these other areas, and it's pretty bad here. So I'm going to give myself a 3. That's a 3. And so when I step back and I look at this is like a way of auditing myself and how I feel about certain things. And there's a really important question that you can ask yourself here, which is like, what does this tell me about myself? You know, so, and of course this is just an example, but like, what does this tell me about myself is that I prioritize health and fitness, maybe over social or friendships and relationships. And I also don't feel like I'm being hardworking enough, but I do feel like I'm learning all the time. And you know, I've seen people score themselves really low on this stuff, and it's quite obvious when people do that they're very, very hard on themselves. So if you score yourself like really low in all of these things, then it might be the case that you're very hard on yourself. It's really common for guys, they're very hard on themselves. But anyway, have a go at doing this and see what you come out with. Then, from doing this, what this highlights is where my priorities might want to be when I set my goals. So, because this is the lowest, I might definitely want to set a goal in this area, friendships and relationships. You know, I also might want to set a goal in business, work and money, because I've only got a 5 here. You know, and do I want to set a goal in one of these areas? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, just speaking honestly, I feel like I'm very good with the health and fitness stuff. You know, like I've just been doing it. It's habits. I've been doing it for a long time. So maybe I'm going to set a goal with the self-development stuff as well to keep me accountable. So now you can see I've got 3 categories now, which I can set a goal about. So I've got the business, work and money one. I've got the self-development one. And I've also got the friendships and relationships, right? Here we go, right? So you can see how I'm sort of like giving myself intelligence on what I need to do. Okay, moving on. Right, so I've got my categories broken down there, and now I want to start distilling them into goals. So a really common problem that tends to happen at this point is that people set quite vague goals. So we're going to use something called the SMART strategy. So if you've never heard of that before, well, let me show you what that means. So SMART, S-M-A-R-T. So what this means is specific, go this side, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Okay? So what I want to make sure is I'm going to run all my goals through this filter, right? So let's take the first one. So we've got a business goal is one of the ones that we wanted to set. So let's say a business goal for me is like to get, let's say 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think I've got a couple of hundred now. Let's say I want to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Well, is that specific? Yeah, I guess you could say it is. Is it measurable? Yes, because it's a quantifiable number. So, yep. Is it achievable? I would say, I would question that. Not knowing a lot about YouTube and having such a small following, I would question that, right? Bearing in mind, this is in 3 months. Is it realistic? Again, I would question that. And is it time bound? Well, kind of, because we know we've got the 3 months up. But essentially, I haven't specified whether or not it's time bound. So you could put a question mark here as well. So now you can see how my goal starts kind of falling to shit. The other thing that I really encourage people to do is to not really fuss too much about the goal, but to worry more about the action behind the goal or the person behind the goal, the behaviors, right? Like Phil Graham says, behave your way to success. So this is so I would have in the past, I would have set I'm going to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And then I would get a handful of subscribers and I would lose my way halfway through the first month or something like that. And it would just go shit and I wouldn't hit it. So here's what a better goal might look like. A better goal, instead of 1,000 subscribers, might look like I'm going to upload 1 video a week for 3 months, right? Upload, and I'm going to write that down, right? 1 vid per week for 3 months. Okay? Now, is that specific? Yes. Is it measurable? Yes. Is it achievable? Yep. Is it realistic? Yeah, I can do that. Yep. And is it time bound? Yep. Now you can see how this goal is all of those things, and it's much clearer. And the other question that I will always ask myself about a goal like this is, how do I feel about that goal? And you know what? When I look at that, I feel pretty good about that. I feel pretty gassed. I feel kind of yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. In fact, not only can I do it, but I want to do that, right? So there's an example, and I'll take you through another one. Let's use the self-development one now. Now, self-development means a lot of things to different people. To me, it's mostly about learning and pushing myself. A lot of these are habits that I've had for a long time or that I've cultivated over a long period of time. So this might be a tad easier for me than others, but let's give an example. Let me give you an example of ones that I've seen in the past. So remember, we're over 3 months. So someone might say, I'm going to read a book. I'm going to finish a book in 3 months, read a whole book. Right? Read. Or let me give you a more realistic version. People will say, I'm going to read more. Right? They're I'm going to read more. Or something more woolly like that. So let's put that down, because this might be how you're doing it. Is it specific? No. Is it measurable? Nope. Is it achievable to read more? Yeah. Is it realistic? It depends who you are. Do you know what I mean? So there's a question mark there. And is it time bound? We're over this 3 month period, so maybe, but I don't really know. I would question that. So can you see how read more, I'm going to read more, is a shit goal? It's not a goal. It's an intention. It's an intention. So, we're gonna fuck that one off. What a better one might look like is something more specific, more broken down, like the last goal, which is I'm going to read for 20 minutes every day. And you can see now we've taken that intention, read more. We've now broken it into an actual behavior or a habit, right? Read for 20 minutes every day. Every day, right? Now let's run it through the same filter. Is that specific? Yes. Is it measurable? Yeah. Is it achievable? Yes. Is it realistic? Yep. And is it time bound? Yeah, because we know we've got something every day. You can kind of see how it's going. We're going to do one more. Friendships and relationships. This is the category that we scored quite low in. So how do you set a goal in this sort of category, right? This is a tricky one, right? And this is one where people might slip up. So let's say I haven't seen any friends or anything like that, so I'm gonna spend more time with, let's do a realistic one, right? Because it's not me. Let's go spend more time with my girlfriend, right? Sounds like a nice goal, doesn't it? So spend more time with the girlfriend. Now, you're probably already like starting to spot the similarities where this is not really a specific goal. It's not really measurable. It's not really, there's nothing to get into there. It's not really a behavior. It's just like, again, it's an intention, but it's a very common example of like a goal that someone will set, but it's not really what we want. We need to distill it into something way more specific. So we're going to run it through the same filter again. Is it specific? No. Is it measurable? No. Is it achievable? I guess, kind of. I guess. But is it realistic to spend more time with your girlfriend? I don't know. It depends who you are. So I guess, but you can see there's no real like concrete here. And is it time bound? Not really. Not really. Do you know what I mean? Like how much time? How much time are you going to spend with your girlfriend over the course of 3 months? An hour? Like, we don't know, right? So let's think about what a more specific goal would be. And I'm sure if you're watching this, you're probably already kind of thinking along the right lines, which is like one that I might do is have a date night with my girlfriend once a week where we have dinner together or we go out together or something like that. So have a date night every week. So, and that might be one evening a week spent with my girlfriend. So one date night per week. Right? Now we've run it through the same filter. Is it specific? Yes. Is it measurable? Well, yeah, because you know if you've done it or not in a week. If you've not had it, yeah, so you can measure it. Is it achievable? I mean, that completely depends on you and your circumstances and all the rest of it. Is it achievable for me to have one date night a week with my girlfriend? Yep. Is it realistic? Again, very much like depends on you and your circumstances. Only you can answer that question. And is it time bound? Well, yeah, because we've got one date night a week. And that might look like, if it's not your girlfriend, it might look more like, I'm going to catch up with one friend a week for coffee, or I'm going to see, I mean, I can't think of any other scenarios for guys, but that's how I do it. I make sure I see one friend a week over a coffee or something social, because I don't go out in the night, and I don't go out at night and drink or anything like that. So you can kind of see how we've taken all of those intentional goals and we've broken them down into more habitual, habit-based or behavioral sort of like goals. Because like I quoted earlier, Phil Graham says, you got to behave your way to success. And I think it's the same is true for like happiness or contentment. You can't just like sort of like go and grab it. You have to like instill these habits and these behaviors, right? And I know this is very like, I trained as a life coach, right? Not a business coach. So, but I apply this same principle to my business related goals. So I think this is a better way of looking at these things. And now if you go back to what we were talking about at the start, where we stretched out the year into Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4, then you start to understand how you can really build some positive momentum with all of these things. And for some people, it might look more like personal goals, like friendships and relationships. And for others, it might look like more business and financial related goals, like starting a business or gaining more customers, that sort of thing. So one thing that I would really urge people to do as well is like not to do this alone. This is the whole point of my mastermind, like community thing that I do. This is what we do together. Every quarter, we all do it together. We bounce it around with each other, and then you've got accountability, right? Because the next time you come in 3 months' time, you got to talk about your goals. You got to talk about which ones you hit, which ones you didn't. Why didn't you hit them? You know, and then we can sort of like talk about all of that stuff together, and you very quickly start to find the issues with why you're not hitting things. So, for example, I was consistently missing some goals in when I was setting them, and I quickly came to learn that it was all down to consistency. Like I just wasn't being consistent enough with the behavior. I go too much on like how I feel, like oh, I don't feel like doing that today, so I don't do it. So one thing that I've implemented is like non-negotiables. Like I have to do this every day. I have to do that every day. And it's really helped. But listen, if you found this interesting or you found it in any way useful, then please drop a comment below, like the video, subscribe to the channel. And I would strongly urge you to connect with me on Instagram. I'll put a link to my Instagram in the description box below, which is Tom Ford Online. Make sure you're following me. Keep it locked for when I'm doing my next mastermind. Shoot me a DM or shoot me a DM on here, and come and have a go, man. Get involved with the community I'm building. It's not about me. It's about like the whole team, right? Everyone working in the same sort of everyone working together to achieve their goals. Anyway, thank you for watching. Really appreciate you for sticking around. And yeah, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like the video. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.